Alright, guys, yesterday we talked about adding mixed numbers, which was a pretty basic process. Um, I guess. Um, you kind of had to do a little manipulation with the fractions and the mixed numbers. Today we're going to talk about subtracting mixed numbers, and the reason that I decided to make a video solely dedicated to subtracting mixed numbers is because it's kind of a difficult concept to understand, more so than adding mixed numbers. So let's look at it together. And if you have any questions, please send me an email. All right. So we're gonna come up with two mixed numbers. 3 and 3/4 minus 1 and 1/2. Alright, so as we saw yesterday with adding mixed numbers, we can change these into improper fractions if you would like, but I think it just makes it a little bit more difficult. So I'll show you that way to show you that it's possible. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. So we've got 15 over our original 4 minus 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3 minus 3 over 2. Now, we have to find a CD, common denominator. So our common denominator is going to be 4. And believe me, after a while of doing these, you'll be able to look at them like that sometimes and tell the common denominator. So 2 times 2 is 4, which is our common denominator. So 3 times 2 is 6. Now, we keep the denominator, which is 4, and we subtract 15 minus 6 is 9. Now we have to turn that back into a mixed number. So 4 divided into 9 goes twice with 1 left over. So our answer is 2 and 1/4. Now, I'm going to show you another way to do that that's not going to take so much work. It'll take a decent amount of work, but I think it'll be an easier way. So 1/2, if you know your fractions well. If you don't, I suggest you get acquainted with them, especially 1/2, because that's a very common fraction you'll see. 1/2 is equal to 2/4. So we subtract 3/4 minus 2/4 is 1/4. And 3 minus 1 is 2. So we got the same thing as we did over here, just by two different methods. So for the remainder of this video, I'm going to do this method, but I've shown you this method, and if you find it to be easier, then by all means use it. And as you can see, we got the same answer. So as long as you go about the correct steps, you know you'll never be wrong. Alright, so let's do another one, and we're going to do it the way that I showed you. So we're going to do 4 and 2/3 minus 1 and 1/2. Alright, so as you can see here, well, I'm hoping you can see, our numbers are a little bit harder to work with. So we need to find the LCM, or the least common multiple. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6. Now we go with 3. 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6. So we can see our least common multiple is 6. So our common denominator is going to be 6. Now, 2 times 3 is 6, so 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6, so 2 times 2 is 4. Alright. So now we're just going to subtract like we normally would. We keep our denominator. We subtract our numerators. 4 minus 3 is 1. And then 4 minus 1 is 3. So our answer is 3 1/6. And if anybody disputes that, you say, here's my work. And if you showed your work and you did it right, you did your work right, then 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, you're going to get the right answer. And if you don't get the right answer, give them my email address and say that I'm the one that taught you. and I'll take responsibility for that. Alright, so now let's look at a different scenario. Okay, so we know that in subtraction, we have to do regrouping, or as us old folks call it, borrowing. But the new generation calls it regrouping, so we're going to call it regrouping. And we're going to do one with light denominators first. 4 and 4 and 2/5 minus 2 and 3/5. Alright. So as you can see, we've got a little bit of a problem here. So the way we're going to fix this problem is just like we do with whole numbers, we have to regroup. But our regrouping is going to look a little bit different when we're working with mixed numbers. So as we know, we're going to take 1 from the 4, and the 4 is going to become a 3. Now, look at what happens. That 1 is going to become 5 over 5, because that's the same thing as 1. So if we add 5 over 5, 5 over 5, and 2 over 5, we get 7 over 5. Now we can subtract. We're going to keep our denominator, our number on the bottom. We're going to subtract our numerators. 7 minus 3 is 4. And 3 minus 2 is 1. So our answer is 1 4/5. And if you want to, just like with regular whole numbers, we can check that by adding 2 and 3/5. We add 1 plus 2 is 3. 4 plus 3 is 7 over your common denominator, which is 5. 3 and 7/5, which is what we have here, but we can make that 4 and 2/5. And the way that we did that is we took 5/5 out and we added it back here. So let's show another example of that. We're going to use common denominators before we get to different denominators. Okay, so okay, I'm trying to find the best angle so I can get the most of my board. Okay, hopefully this works. So we've got 5 and 2/9 minus 1 and 5/9. Okay, so we got our same problem here. And this time last time I went step by step. This time I'm going to show you a little bit of a shortcut, a little bit of a trick. So we know we're going to take 1 from our 5 and it becomes a 4. Now when we take 1 from our 5, we're going to add the denominator up top. So 2 plus 9 is 11. 11 over 9. So 4 and 11 over 9 minus 1 and 5 over 9. We keep our denominator. 11 minus 5 is 6. And 4 minus 1 is 3. Now we need to reduce that, and the way we reduce that is we say what number divides both of these. Well, 6 can be divided by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So that would be 3 and 2/3. That would be a final simplified answer. But before we do that, let's add it back just to make sure we got it right. Okay, so we're going to add our 1 and 5/9. So we got 3 plus 1 is 4. 3 plus 1 is 4. We keep the denominator. And 6 plus 5 is 11. So as you can see, that's what we have right here. Now let's change it out. So now instead of adding to the numerator, we're going to subtract from the numerator, our 9. And then since we subtracted, we got to add 1 here. So 4 plus 1 is 5. 11 minus 9 is 2 over 9. So that's what we started with. So that's how we know we got the right answer. So instead of doing another video on that today, because I think that subtracting mixed numbers is a little bit of a confusing concept. So I'm going to let you digest that for today. Tomorrow we're going to go one step further subtracting mixed numbers, subtracting mixed numbers that have unlike denominators. But I think we should go one step at a time. So until tomorrow, I'll see you guys. Keep practicing. As you can see, subtracting mixed numbers is not the easiest thing in the world. So please practice, practice, practice. And you'll get better at it. You'll find the shortcuts. And be safe. And I'll see you guys next time.